Hello everyone, Petko'S here. Today we're gonna talk about the highly anticipated tier list for 9.1 Shadowlands Mythic Plus, and today is gonna be a healer edition. A big disclaimer before we start: this tier list is not final and is most likely going to be changed. I'm gonna always keep my up-to-date version on ICVN's website and my Discord. If you guys are interested in the latest possible version of that tier list, you might find it in Discord. Just for reference, if a certain spec is ranked as medium or bad or just generally the lowest, that doesn't mean it's bad, that doesn't mean it's less valuable compared to the rest of the specification, and you still can make great use of it. So don't get discouraged if your spec is ranked below any other, because things are not final, things might change, and also that's just purely my opinion. You might agree or disagree with me, that is completely fine. Before I place the healers from the very bottom to the very top, I will let you know why do I think they deserve that placing, and I'm also gonna compare them with the rest of the specialization, so it does make more sense for you guys. Alright, so without further ado, let's begin. First specialization on our tier list is gonna be Mistweaver Monk. Now, Mistweaver Monk enters 9.1 as one of the weakest healing specialization despite their current buffs on most of their damaging abilities, which if you summarize them together, you will get around 10% increase on a single target because their Tiger's Palm, Blackout Kick, and Rising Sun Kick was increased by 10%, and the Spinning Crane Kick was also increased by 20%. Now, those buffs will definitely fill a large gap between the very top of the healer tier list until the very bottom, and will definitely make Mr. Monk slightly higher damage profile. But you have to keep in mind that despite having a great HPS profile and DPS profile, they don't really provide anything as an external cooldown, not only to the tank but to the party. You have a Life Cocoon, which is not really something that can help your tank survive big dangerous pulls, unlike something that, let's say, Iron Bark of Druid, something like Pain Suppression of Disc Priest, you know, something that can definitely reduce the incoming damage. The Bubble, which is the cocoon, breaks very easily and is definitely one of the weaker external cooldowns. Now they have Revival, which can help you, for example, get rid of bursting stacks and have very high HPS, on-demand HPS, which is great. And the spec itself has very good utility from Tiger Slash, Leg Sweep, Ring of Peace. You have also Crowd Control, Paralysis, and you also provide a Mystic Touch, which is a 5% physical damage increase. And if you're running a heavy melee composition, Mistweaver can be a very good pick. I would say a small suggestion, I would say that Mistweaver can definitely rise in rankings if they have a legendary power, for example, that can provide some kind of external defensive for the whole team. Let's say whenever you press Revival, you're also going to apply like 20% damage reduction to all of your teammates, or something like this, something that can give them an external power that can provide damage reduction, which can close the gap between Mistweaver Monk and many other healers very quickly. And I think Mistweaver can become a top tier spec if that's added. Next specialization on the list is going to be a Holy Priest. Now, Holy Priest is by far one of the strongest specialization when it comes down to pure raw healing per second. I think they're very powerful, and that is something that has always been a core strength of the spec. Outside of this, their damage is not quite as good as the specs ranked above them, and they don't also actually provide any damage reduction ability, just like Mr. Monk to the party. Now, if Holy Priest opts to play Night Fae, you can actually get yourself covered specific ability that reduces the damage done to a target by 20%, which can pretty much suits you as an external ability, but that's borrowed power. That is not really a power specialized per spec, it's a borrowed power from the Covenant. Again, that works perfectly. It has the same power as Iron Bark, same damage reduction percentage, so I think that fills a massive gap, and that's why Holy Priest has been tremendously rising in the ranking since 9.0.5 until now, and I believe the spec can even further rise if they slightly tune their damage, especially output damage. Overall damage I think is pretty low compared to the rest, and if that gets fixed, Holy Priest can become like one of the better healers out there. But keep in mind, the spec has also very good utility in the face of Holy War Chest. I have a Master Spell, which can suit for removing the bursting stacks, for example, or Master Spell. A Power Infusion, which is indirectly DPS increase to any DPS opted to receive that. I have a Leap of Fate, which can save you in dangerous situation. Mind Suit can also make you skip some mobs. And if you haven't seen mob skip, I also have a guide how to skip big packs or anything like this in our obviously in websites. I'm just gonna link it below if you're interested. And you also can spec Sanger, which is pretty much a single target stun and can be used to interrupt or disturb any casts, any important cast, or just any high danger mobs. I think the HPS profile of Holy Priest is among the best. I think they have very good utility. The mobility is decent at most. I think if you want to see this spec higher, we need to have some kind of a buffs to the core damage abilities of Holy Priest. And if you do get that, I guarantee you Holy Priest will be one of the best healers in 9.1. Coming into the next is going to be Restoration Druid. Now, Restoration Druid received a lot of changes from beta Shadowlands to 9.0, 9.0.5. Restoration Druid went from one of the best class to one of the mediocre-ish class. So I think the main issue with Resto Druid is they nerfed the damaging abilities. Now they nerfed the damage profile, which is something that Resto Druid has always been known for, doing high damage while doing while healing, because most of your toolkit comes from HOTS, which is healing per second, and most of your DPS comes from dots again, which is damage per second, like Moonfire, Rake. Also, obviously you have a damage on demand with swipes, but all of your damage comes from dots, Sunfire, Moonfire, Rakes, and stuff like this. Again, they nerfed that. That's why we ranked him as a kind of in the middle of the pack. It's still going to be A tier, but in the middle of the pack, I would say. And if you want to see that spec rise, definitely revert the changes, the DPS changes, and put them back so I can make it more viable. Their survivability is among the best in the game. Now, Parskin, shortest cooldown in the game as defensive, or one of the shortest, I would say. They also have a passive mitigation with a bear. Whenever they press a bear, they're a little bit more tanky. They're the only healer that has a combat resurrection in the face of rebirth. The utility is among the best in the game. They have a Cyclone, which is pretty much very OP in Mythic Plus. A Stamping Roar, which can make you skip, for example, Prideful, which can make you like have a high movement speed if you need to go from point A to point B and you're not able to mount. You have a Suit, which is very, very useful in rage spells. And obviously very good external defensive cooldown in the face of Iron Bark. One of the shortest defensive cooldowns in the game, and it's very, very useful. All in all, I would say Restoration Druid is a great pick coming into 9.1 for Mythic Plus. And I think if you want to see them become meta or become way more valuable than what they are right now, they should get their damage profile increased by a little bit, and that's going to give them an edge and definitely excel in rankings. But as of now speaking, they belong to the A tier. Alright, so next on the list, we're going to put a Restoration Shaman. Now, Restoration Shaman enters 9.1 as one of the better healers out there, if not one of the strongest HPS-wise healer. Their main issue remains the same. They don't have a strong single target external cooldown outside of Spirit Link Totem, which only provides a 10% damage reduction and also has 3-minute cooldown. So not really viable when it comes down to like strong external. So you can opt to have two builds, for example. One is the more aggressive build with the Deep Tremor Stone Legendary, which gives you a permanent Earthquake to your Earth Elemental. And the other one is a bit more safer choice, which is the Riptide Lego. Their playstyle became from pretty much chain heal machine to Riptide dot management, which pretty much makes you heal them while not casting as many chain heals as you previously have done. So Riptide on all enemies, especially if you're Necro, you have extra Riptide, which is amazing. Can definitely sustain high DPS because of that hot playstyle, just like the rest of it. Once you have your hots, you can just DPS. But outside of the Earth Elemental Lego, especially the aggressive playstyle, they don't have much damage. You know, chain lighting is good, but it's not as good when you fight like 10 plus mobs because it's capped to 5 targets. The single target power damage is actually very decent because of the Lava Burst, Flame Shock, and Lightning Bolt spam. So again, if they're a good hitter, if the person is good behind the hitter and can manage Riptide pretty good, I think you can manage to post some insane numbers. But all in all, one of the safest killers going into 9.1. Very, very strong, pretty much all-around base killer. But again, if you want to see that killer rise in rankings, you have to kind of increase their passive damage by a little bit, and also provide an external, very strong single target external for the tank, for example, or for any players. I think that is the only way that Shaman can get a bit more action and entering the S tier, which is kind of the meta, quote-unquote meta for 9.1. Again, when it comes down to utility, Shaman is actually great, has a stun in terms of capacitator totem every minute pretty much. You also have a Earthbite totem, which is the permanent slow. You also have a Thermal totem, which prevents the people from getting feared. And you have a kick as well when in the face of Wind Shear. You have actually lots of useful stuff. You have a Dispel, you have a Purge, you have a Bloodlust, which is very valuable in Mythic Plus, and also you have a Reincarnation, aka Ankh. In case you die, you can resurrect for free instantly, so that's also something that you have to keep in mind. Definitely a very solid pick. We expect Shamans to be one of the better heroes out there. Next on the list is gonna be Discipline Priest. Discipline Priest is entering 9.1 as one of the better healing specialization out there, if not one of the best. So why is that OP? Because having a Boon of Ascended every 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes actually very powerful, because you can also use that as a DPS cooldown, which is something that Discipline lacked in the previous tier. That was a very strong DPS profile, especially in the AoE scenario, and now that they have it back, their damage profile will rise significantly, meaning that they're gonna compete for the first spot together, the Holy Paladins. So that's very good news. Outside of your damage, you also provide a power infusion, which is indirectly DPS increase to pretty much every single DPS you choose to put it on. You also have a passive healing, which is very important because if your group is actually good, they don't take avoidable damage, they don't take as much damage, you can pretty much DPS all the time and heal them passively with Atonement. So that's very good. Also, since Manifesto of Pride is gone, which is the seasonal affix of Season 1, and is replaced by Tormented, which means they don't need as much HPS every 20% of trash, which means Discipline Priest can definitely rise in rankings, because Discipline Priest playstyle is a bit more city dependent, which means if you don't have cooldowns in heavy HPS fight, you might fall behind, and if you fall behind, pretty much done. Hard to recover. You need to kind of ramp up most of the times. Now you have very good utility, you have Master Spell again for bursting. I have a power word fortitude, which is pretty much a 5% stamina increase to pretty much every single member. You also have a pain suppression, which is very strong. External single target oriented cooldown, and power word barrier, which is an AoE external, which reduces the damage taken as well. So that's 2 strong defensive cooldowns, and that is something that no other hero has. Again, we're gonna closely monitor Discipline Priest performance, and hopefully we're gonna see it rise to the top and overtake Holy Paladin. But that is only time can tell us that, and only tuning can tell us that. So Spec might get nerfed in the next couple weeks, might get buffed, nobody knows. But as now speaking, it's the second best hitter coming to 9.1. And at last, the King, Holy Paladin, once again. Despite their 8% nerf to Holy Paladin's damaging abilities, they pretty much are the only spec in a game, healer specialization, that can dish out so much damage. Especially if you have Venture Paladin, sometimes you just have higher DPS than even a DPS. And that's in my opinion, it's insane. They also get the talent Crusader Might nerfed, so pretty much the value of the Crusader Might is nerfed by 33%. So that changes Holy Shock is definitely gonna hit the most, because you're gonna get damaged on your HPS and DPS profile, because you're gonna get less Holy Shocks. But all in all, you're still the strongest damage profile class. You're still by far miles ahead everyone. You still have very strong utility, and you also immunity, which is very important in Mythic Plus. Paladin is the only class in a game that has an immunity, which can save you in critical situations. You don't have a strong external, you only have a sack, which is something sometimes you wish you had something better than sack, but sack is the only thing you have for your team. You have a Devotion Aura, which is pretty much a passive percentage reduction to the party. Holy Paladin is also very good in scaling, which means the better the gear they have, the more output they're gonna put, not only DPS but also HPS. So they're very gear dependent. With the right styles, they can excel and become even better than what they are. So we expect the Invited to go even higher once they obtain better gear. We also have very good external cooldowns in the face of Outer Mastery, which is pretty much an AoE damage reduction to the whole party. You have a Devotion Aura, which is a passive damage reduction to everybody around you. You also have a Blessing of Protection, which is a great against physical damage or against bleeds, which means if any DPS has a bleed effect on him, you can bop him and therefore remove that effect. You have a Blessing of Sacrifice, which can be very suitable if your tank needs that. Kind of like your only, I would say, strong single target external. The main disadvantage of a Holy Paladin is actually their mobility. Since they're a melee hitter, they only rely on Divine Steed to get out of melee or out of a dangerous situation. So if that's low, if that's not like there, then you might end up dying to like unavoidable or avoidable damage because they're not able to get out. Again, that is something that has been always a struggle with Paladin, but since you have Ventir, you can Door of Shadows away, and that can save you a lot of time. It's a 1.5 second cast, I believe, and can get you away in dangerous situations. Alright, so that is the tier list coming into 9.1 in Shadowlands, but I appreciate you guys watching it. If you have any questions, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy it, make sure to press the like button, which kind of makes me encouraged to make more videos, stuff like this. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and please don't bash me if I place you here BO8 here I try to be as transparent as possible. If you disagree with me, that's completely fine. Again, it's my personal opinion, and it might or might not be suitable for you. Alright, so thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.